Hello, everyone. Welcome to the King Ugly Crew. This is Griffith. I'm going to be narrating today because
Moderating.
narrating like a narrator.
Well, we
We're
are
not
talking
reading a
about
book.
books, so
Yes, I'm
Oh,
narrating.
okay.
So we got everyone here. The subject we were doing it on is going to be on self-help books, I guess. And since Baron came up with this topic, and
No,
I think he
Lonnon
did-
came up with it. Thank you.
Okay, well, Lonnon came up with this topic,
Lonnon,
so
hijack
Lonnon
it.
can start this off.
Okay, so if I'm going to start it off, there's a lot of books that I've read that are very good. And actually, the first one I was going to talk about, Dane is going to talk about. So the second one I will talk about is, I believe it's How to Win Friends and Influence People by
Dale Carnegie.
yes.
That one's so good.
Oh,
I love that
Well,
book.
I actually have listened to that one too.
Have you, Griffey? Awesome.
Yeah.
It's an incredible book, and it's great for anybody. I mean, it's not just good for people
People
in
looking
business.
for friends and want to influence people.
Right.
It's
good for making
everybody.
relationships.
Yes. I mean,
Which relationships help you in all aspects of life?
What? No. So yeah, that would be my book that I think is quite good. Probably one of my top 10 self-help books.
It's definitely in my top 10, so I'm right there with you, Lonnon.
Let's go with sure.
I don't know if it quite makes my top 10.
One.
Really?
I've got so many other books. I mean, right now on my
Go
list,
for
I
it,
have
Bear.
15 books. So
That one doesn't make your top 10. That's
I
saying
don't
a
know
lot.
how to win friends and influence people. Like, it was a really, really, really good book. But for a reason, at the time that I was listening to it, it didn't speak to me. And then the second time that I listened to it, it was like, this book's really slow. Like, it points doesn't like speak to me. Like, I have other books. Like, I'll give them later.
Go for it, Bear.
Okay, so like my favorite book, probably the book that I have listened to probably 7 times, and this book is 9 hours long, is The Power of Habits: Why We Do What We Do in Life and in Business.
Who's that by?
I tried to get the author's name. It's by Dennis, and then the name cuts off, and I can't get the rest of it.
What's it called again, Byron? I'll look it up.
The Power of Habit, and then the subtitle is Why We Do What We Do in Life and in Business. So that one was actually a recommendation from Brother Mitchell, because when I got fired from PDD, I was on this like avenue of self-discovery. And so when I was driving for Barney, I was listening to a lot of books and was asking all the people that I was close to what books I should listen to, and who were very successful people. And this was one of the ones that I got recommended to by 3 different people. And it really did change the way that I look at habits. Why we create habits. There was actually, it starts out with this guy who got what is it called? It's basically when you get an infection in your brain, it starts to eat your brain away.
Meningitis?
Yes. So he got that 8 part of his memory away, and it was all of his short-term memory. So he could remember things before this was written in like 2001. So he could remember things basically before 1995, no problem. But he could not remember anything from 5 minutes ago. And so he ended up, they followed this guy, and they give some other examples of, you guys have all watched 50 First Dates, right? With that one guy that has the 5-second memory.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they reference that
It's the
guy a
girl.
lot.
No.
No,
The
it was a guy.
in Tom.
Tom, yeah. Hi,
Yeah.
I'm Tom.
Yeah, that was a
Oh,
real
hi.
guy.
Oh,
He actually opted to have that surgery because he had such awful migraines, and then that did that to him. But it goes on and basically follows this other guy and how he ended up moving out of the house that he had lived in for the last 50 years, and he had to move to this other place. Well, by the power of habits, because this man did not have short-term memory, by the power of habits, he was still able to live a life. His body would remember where things were at in the house, where the refrigerator was, where the bathroom was at. But if you were to ask him, hey, how would you get from from your bedroom to the bathroom? He could not draw a map like to where it goes, but he could walk from the dining room table and go to the kitchen, grab a thing of peanut butter out of the kitchen, and then he would walk back and make a sandwich or whatever and come back, and then the people would ask him, so how did you do that? And he could not tell them how he did it. And
Dude, that's nuts.
Yeah, and it was all because of habits.
So it's
That's
Power
pretty
Habit.
cool.
It is written by Charles Duhigg, or Duhigg.
Yeah. So that book is super influential. It's very long. It gives lots of case studies, but it's also very well written. It gives an example of a business. It was Alcoa, and how it was just why you should do this principle first, why you should put safety in this. It wasn't that you should put safety first in doing air quotes right now. It was that you make people think that they're the most important thing in your industry, and they will work way harder for you, and you will have way less accidents, and you will get way more productivity if the person, the individual, feels like they are important, not just a cog in the wheel.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So that is probably my most influential book.
All right.
That's why I make sure Baron's not important.
Wow, Griffey, coming
Yep.
from his boss.
All right, Case.
So if we're starting with our most influential books in our lives that we've read, I will have to go with. I know this is one that I've shared with just about everyone in my family. It's one that's really touched my heart, and I've listened to it and read it probably over 10 times. It's called The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews.
Never heard of it.
It is such a great book. Mom told me about it. Case told me about it. It's such a fantastic book.
Yeah, I've never heard about it.
Oh, sorry. Well, this is one of those ones that I recommend to everyone. It's the 7 decisions that determine personal success. Basically, it follows this guy that literally his life is really in the bad terms of time, we'll put it that way, or just a bad situation in life. His daughter's sick. He just lost his job because he was on the phone with his wife because she was sick.
Like in the hospital, sick, like going through, what was it, chemo treatments or something?
No,
like
it wasn't that.
No.
It wasn't that. It was tonsillitis. She had to get her tonsils removed, but they didn't have any money. So he was driving home and he had a life insurance policy. He's like, you know what? Honestly, my life would be my family's life would be easy if I just, you know what, just died while driving my car. And so he's doing in this really crappy car on an icy road, like 100 miles an hour, and hits black ice and swerves and hits a tree. And all of a sudden, he's in the past. And with these are I don't remember exactly how many people he went to see. I think it's 7 different people in the past. They had.
Like,
Baron, do you remember?
like how far back in the past? We're talking
So
like long
they
in the
went to
past?
King Nebuchadnezzar. So the king that had to decide between whose baby is this? These 2 mothers both claim this baby, so we'll just cut the baby in half. And then the real mother said, no, don't do that. And the fake mother was like, oh yeah, sure, that's fine. So that was that story. So they brought you back in time to that period in time, and then this man actually goes and is introduced to King Nebuchadnezzar. And just however the book is written, of course, they can speak to each other. And King Nebuchadnezzar gives him this particular bit of advice.
And throughout the book, these people of the past give him life lessons, and then one of the last chapters puts him in the future, and actually he goes to an event that his company in the future has started, and it's like rented out an entire stadium, like Dave Ramsey kind of thing. Like, he's such a big name now. It's basically
The same guy is, or his company is?
his company, and the guy, he's the one that started it, and now he's touching millions of people and
Gotcha.
sharing this story with them. And it's one of the last people he meets is the Michael Angel, or Angel,
The Archangel?
Michael the Archangel.
Yes, Michael the Archangel. And he talks about how fear can hold us down, and how fear and faith are exact polar opposites. And man, it's one of those books that I hold dear to my heart, and I have the hard copy literally right in front of me, and I will always have this book with me.
Huh. Yeah,
So
never heard of it.
yeah, that's one I definitely will recommend.
That one's definitely worth a listen. Like, I tried to listen to it several more times, and we couldn't on Scribed.
So it's kind of like a Christmas Carol type of a deal, but, but even further in depth.
Yeah, much more in depth.
He meets Abraham Lincoln. He meets who else? He meets Christopher Columbus.
When was this written?
Come
on, Case, you got the book in front of you. Copyright it.
I'm looking up right now. Give me just a second.
Well, in the meantime, I will move to somebody else.
No, I can just. We can just delete that out.
2002.
Okay.
Yeah, 2002.
2002.
Yeah.
All right. I was thinking it would have been a lot older of a book.
All right. It's very good though. That's definitely my number 1 top book. So, all right, Dane, hit us.
Yep. So I find this kind of interesting that everybody guessed my book, and
well, you just because you've called all of us, I think, at some point in our lives and said you need to read this book now.
See, and I heard that from Todd. That's where I heard it from.
Yep.
You're gonna say
Todd's the one who recommended it to me. Baron, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna guess the title, but now I know what it is.
What is it?
The Richest Man in Babylon.
Richest man in Babylon. Yep. So I guess the biggest reason I like this is you guys know in, let's just say, American society, you go back 200 years and the rich families are still rich, right?
Most of them, yes.
So what are they teaching their children that we're not teaching our children?
To give away a bunch of money and how to screw everyone else out of their money.
Wow,
No.
you are ever the optimist.
Okay.
I mean, that might be part of it if they're Democrats.
That which is 99% of them, because all of them pretty much feel like they don't deserve the wealth that they got.
Hey, Democrats have no problem spending money as long as it's not their money.
Okay.
They still spot. Sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, so over these 200 years, there's obviously something that is being taught in those families. And obviously, once again, I'm going to say a cliche, you got to have money to make money. And that's 100% true. But the whole point of Richest Man in Babylon is to tell you how to make wealth. That the whole purpose
exactly.
of money
it tells you the principles
is to get more money. It's about making your money work for you. And that's what it is. It's about Lonnon, if you were to work for 8 hours in a day, how much money could you make?
Well, it depends on what I was doing.
Okay. Can you add any more hours in the day?
No. So
can you only make a certain amount in 8 hours?
Yeah.
Can you only work so hard in 8 hours?
Yes. I mean,
yes. So
physical labor, yes.
So even if you made $50 an hour, it's still, you're limited to that time.
Yeah, you're right.
You're limited to, what is that, $400?
To my own work and not the work of my money that's working for me instead of me working for me.
Exactly. Or, I mean, look at companies. What do companies do? Especially on the car service side, Lonnon. Think about that one.
On the car service side?
Yeah, car service side. What's Pet Boys charge an hour?
Oh, yeah. Well, even we make more money on our labor than we pay the customer, or than we pay our mechanic.
Exactly. So it's all about hiring out different things to different people. There comes a time, like if you were building a house, and if I've got 3 houses going on, does it make sense for me to build 3 houses or to hire out 3 houses to be built? Because then it's going to get done faster. Then I can take that money, turn it around, put it to work again, and then you're compounding on top of itself pretty much endlessly, as opposed to myself, I can only build 1 house at a time.
Right. I mean, a great example of that was the Tracys in Twin Falls. He built houses for other people, but they only built 1 house for themselves at a time, and then they'd spec it, and then they'd sell it, and then he'd do it again, and then he'd do it again, and
that theory also kind of goes along with the Millionaire Next Door. With don't try to do things that you can pay somebody else to do cheaper than you can do them. Like a good example of this is Lance Wetton told me this. He had a water pump go out in his car. And he just got to work, and he's like, "Oh, just give me a minute. I'm going to go replace my water pump and we get this all figured out." And he was telling one of his buddies this that owned a car shop. And he's all like, "Why don't you go back behind your fancy desk and work with your fancy tools and make your $400 an hour and let me send one of my guys over there that makes $30 an hour, so that way you don't have to screw up your fancy hands and lose your $400 an hour job to do a stupid $30 an hour job."
$30 an hour job. Exactly. Yep.
Wow. So, that's really good. I mean, just that idea is really good.
Yeah.
It's the one thing we can't get back is time.
Right. I mean, like, we've actually reached that point here at Power Driven. Like, at the beginning, it was, how cheap can we get something? How cheap can we get something? Can we do it for free? And now we've got a point where we have money, and it's like, do we just hold on to that money, or do we pay somebody else to do the things that
put it to work?
So,
yes. Yeah, but so the whole thing with Richest Man in Babylon, the reason I like it so much is it just teaches you different principles on what to do. You get your paycheck, and most people live paycheck to paycheck. So they're spending, 10/10ths of their paycheck. They're spending 100% of their paycheck every 2 weeks. And what this teaches you to do is to spend 7/10ths of it and save 3/10ths, pay tithes, and then put the other 2/10ths back to work for you. And start making more money, because you have to have money to live on, but then don't live above your means. And I think everybody's done this, where you get married and you get out in the rat race and you get into debt, and you start living beyond your means because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. And I think that it's important for us to teach our children that that's not what you should be doing. How does this, equate to, long-term stability? How does this equal happiness long-term? Not right now, but in the future. And how can, doing this affect that in the future? So I think that's something that we need to teach all of our children. And I think that's what is being taught in those houses that, have been wealthy for a long time, is they're teaching them how to make, more money and good decisions to make. And, is it worth the expense now for the happiness now, as opposed to, an investment where the happiness comes later.
Right.
Yes, they probably are teaching them how to make that. So that I'm going to give you so much money, but this is how you make that money work for you.
Yeah.
Well, they talk about in that book, a kid got given a whole bunch of money and basically ended up blowing it all. Went back to his dad. And it's been a while since I read it, but I think he went back to his dad.
He goes back to his dad after 10 years. So he ends up going to another town, and he ends up spending all of his money unwisely. He made some really horrible investments. Ended up doing some horse trading is basically what happened, and he got really screwed. And he ends up going to this town, and he just becomes a day laborer, basically. He gets on with this pretty good crew, and he starts working, and he starts following the principles his dad gave him. And he spends 7/10, he keeps 3/10. And over this period of time, he ends up collecting an okay amount of money, and then he ends up talking to his boss or his foreman, and his foreman gets him invested into these people that actually know what good investments are. And it's one of those times where, yes, it's great to have money, but it's also great to know people, because that's how he got into this scenario. And he was able to remake back all of the money plus 2 times of what his dad gave him originally. So he gave his dad back everything, and then his dad actually gave him this tablet of the 10 rules of gold. And he ended up giving his dad another 2 sacks of money and said, here's the money you gave me originally. And then here are 2 more sacks of money, because here's what this tablet was worth to me.
Yep. So
excellent book. It's written by George Samuel Clason, Clason, just for anyone who wants to look it up.
Sounds good.
One of the cool things about that, that it kind of teaches you is, you guys know that I like basketball. And you look at all these basketball players that, I grew up watching in the 80s and the 90s, that their kids are now playing, and their kids are never going to be as good as them. Why?
Because they didn't have to work for it.
They didn't have to put in the work. It wasn't, the next Michael Jordan or the next, fill in the blank. It's always going to be somebody who had to, work harder than somebody who was born with a silver spoon in their mouth. But I read a quote by Kobe Bryant the other day, and it basically said that, I'll never have anything in common with somebody who is mediocre. And it's basically, he just goes on to say that everything I have, I've worked for, and I've outworked everybody that I know to get where I am. And, no excuses. There's no excuse that I could ever have that I couldn't overcome. So I just thought that was cool coming from Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. Okay.
Griffith.
So I don't have, most of mine's a YouTube. This was back when I was doing service for Subaru, and I was very new to it, and I had to figure it out. It was Service Drive Revolution, which was a guy that was a service manager for many years and then became a consultant. And it was very much a self-help. It's also taught me a lot of way of how to deal with customers and how to basically making money work for you, and as far as in a service drive, and making customers be able to give you good surveys and stuff like that.
And how did that affect
It's all about educating the customer.
Yes. Kind of, which it was at that time you couldn't really we couldn't educate customers on surveys. So like if they got it said in it, if this was mentioned, then we would get dinged for mentioning in surveys. It's really dumb. That was Subaru's fix to basically survey rigging.
Actually, Dell did the same thing while I was at Dell, and then a few years later he was calling Dell, and now they're allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, you should be able to, because you should be able to educate. So before I got into retail, I thought an 8 was a good score. An 8 is just like a 0.
Almost, yeah. I mean, 8 is an 800s, which is ours was done ultimately by 100 because it was a score of 100. If you were to do 8s all the way down the board, you were probably the lowest people in their district.
Yeah, that's pretty
crazy.
I
think most people think 10 is perfect, and nobody's ever perfect.
Right.
And that's I think that's most people's mentality.
Well, that's how I survey. I mean, now that I know that I probably won't anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll
If
tell
you liked their service at all, you need a 10 it. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's either a 9 or a 10. That's pretty much like, I'll be honest. You want to do a survey correctly, do a 9 or a 10 because that will make it so it doesn't screw them, and then put in the comments what you disliked and about all the problems. Because I read all of my surveys, regardless if they were good or bad. I read them because I wanted to know what the customers thought. But it was.
I just remember getting bad surveys at Discount Tire when I worked there, and man, it was, you literally had the AVP show up, the area vice presidents pull in if it was a bad enough survey, and you end up having to, really give the customer their entire thing for free for it. And it's just, you can't please everyone all the time, and I'm sure the guy talked about that.
No.
And he didn't.
Yeah, he did. Yes, you cannot.
And so it was that was something that always bugged me, is like the really angry, dumb, stupid people would get their ways and get
Dumb,
stuff for free.
stupid people. Yep.
That's
they
how it
figured
was
out
at
the
Pet
system.
Boys. Yeah.
If I wanted to, I could totally screw Best Buy over. They give me everything for free.
Same with Pet Boys. Same way.
Oh yeah.
We had multiple customers come in there where I was a service manager, or assistant service manager, and we had one guy that I literally told my manager, I was like, if he comes in, I'm just going to tell him I'm not working on his car. And he did one time, and I was like, look, we can refuse service, and you seem to get everything we do, there's something wrong. And so, I just don't want to take your car anymore. And then so he started coming in on my days off.
Nice.
Jeez. Hey, Griffith, what YouTube channel was that again?
Service Drive Revolution.
Is he still posting to this day? Do you know?
Yeah, he's still he's a consultant, so it's still up. It's still, I watch it every now and then just because, but I was really watching it because I was trying to. I was a parts manager, and I walked into service and got blindsided by surveys and all the other stuff that I had never had to deal with, because we had to deal with surveys in the parts department, but it was really easy. Parts are there. They were happy with parts, and we were always good about that. But it obviously is a lot more to deal with it, like surveys and figuring out how to make service drives work and other stuff like that. And so
customers happy.
Customers happy, service drives good, and try to maintain that with poor mechanics and try to keep people's pay up, and so you don't have enough staff. And it was just, that's.
You guys want to know what statement I hate and I totally disagree with?
The customer's always
right.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
As long as the customer thinks they're right, then you're fine. But some customers, you have to just flat out tell, no, I'm sorry, that's not how it is. This is how it is. If you'd like to do it this way, I'd be more than happy to help you.
Yeah, actually, I get to do that more frequently than I would like to at Subaru. At ADD. Because luckily I don't have to deal with the survey. Now, are we out there to make it so that every customer is happy? And that really is our goal, customer service. Yes. But at the end of the day, there's things that happen, and it's like, look, that's your fault. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but we'll bend over backwards to get stuff to happen, but we're not here to give away the store because you were unhappy or you were too stupid to do it right the first time.
Or you ordered a back order product and then they got mad and they're like, well, will you overnight it because it's back ordered? No, it literally said on your order it was back ordered.
I love people.
Like seriously, you want me to overnight it because you didn't see it or you just didn't care? Either way.
Well, their truck's not drivable. Come on, delivery valve sockets—they're not drivable.
Yeah, not drivable. Right.
We finally told that to Tessa.
Oh,
because people were complaining that their delivery valve sockets, and we finally went, you realize that their truck still drives. Like, it would work just fine without that.
Yeah, they don't have to have it.
Right.
Okay, so
I guess back to Lonnon.
Oh yeah, I guess I was the first one, huh? Dang it, got a couple, but probably the next best ones, and I'm just gonna give a whole broad range of them, but they're all by Robert Kiyosaki, and they're the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, if you will.
Yep.
They've got Cash Flow Quadrant. He's got the Rich Dad Poor Dad. There's a bunch of them, but they all kind of, they're more just storytelling, but how to, he's also, Dane talked about the rat race, and he has a game called Cash Flow Quadrant, and you start in the rat race, and then you have to make your way out of the rat race to actually make money. And
if anybody, that game is like super expensive, but if you ever have the opportunity to play it, anybody listening, please take the opportunity. It will open your eyes.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, it absolutely will open your eyes. But yeah, so there's I probably have on my server 20 of them, 15 of them. So he's got a bunch of different ones, kind of like lessons in leadership, how to read a person like a book, how to raise capital, just a bunch of different things. But so all really good. And then I've got 2 other real good ones, but we'll leave those for later.
Baron.
Okay, so my next most influential is definitely Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. That one changed. My mother-in-law introduced me to that before my wife and I got married, and it changed the way I managed money. So that one's probably my most influential, just because it was like, you know what, here's just some simple steps to manage your money and make your money work for you, and not to have to worry about money problems. And I think most of my siblings can attest to this. I don't generally have money problems. And so and that book, it's mostly because of that book. Like, yes, I pinched pennies before, but because of that, I learned more of how to manage money. I mean, growing up, none of us really learned how to manage our money very well.
I think that you make pennies scream, Bear. I don't know what you're talking about, pinch pennies.
Yes.
Baron's not that bad. And honestly, because Baron listened to that book, I got turned on to it too. And the fact that our other brother, Power, actually works for the Ramsey group now is another big thing.
Well, and it was before Power. We even knew Power was into that. I mean, my mother-in-law introduced me to it, and because what happened was I came and I was complaining to my wife, and my mother-in-law was there. Well, before she was my wife, and I was like, I don't know how I spent $44,000 in 1 year, and I have nothing to show for it. I mean, I bought a truck and I have bought a ton of food, and that is all I have to show for $44,000. And so my mother-in-law's all like, well, here's this book you should really listen to. And so I ended up listening to it, and I was all like, man, why didn't somebody show this to me, I don't know, 3 years ago, and I actually started making money. And
it's on purpose. I mean, like, in my opinion, like, that's why they don't teach it in schools.
You know, they're putting that into schools now.
Yeah,
Dave Ramsey.
Not freaking
not
public
enough.
schools.
No, it's other ones, obviously. But it's cool that they have that program going into high schools now. How to actually make a budget and, stick to it.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep.
I'll be honest. That's how you lose employees. I know that sounds terrible.
Well,
we always intentionally put our employees into debt when we were at Subaru. We'd intentionally make them buy cars because then they would stay working there. Because how do you quit your job if you can't go anywhere?
Mm-hmm. Well,
that's not a good way to promote.
Well, I see that
know.
like Kimball's done that.
We don't tell them out loud, but
it's brilliant. I mean, there's no reason. I mean, for people to have to stick around, it's really smart on the employer's part, but kind of crooked, but really smart.
Yep.
I mean,
it's using
I think
people's
there's better
fears.
ways to reduce turnover.
Well,
Better
it's
ways
like
to reduce turnover.
me. I have no. To me, a job is a job. I mean, if I'm going to have a place that'll offer me more money and I have a better opportunity and I might like the work environment more, I'm going to take that opportunity.
That sounds good to say, right, with your boss on the line with you.
Griff as full well knows, and Lonnon full well knows that this is, for me to work at Power Driven Diesel again, I had to put up walls. So I like what I do. I like selling diesel parts, and Power Driven Diesel offers to pay me enough money. So that's why I'm here.
And work with your schedule. That worked too.
And I like working with my brothers. I mean, there's perks to every part of a job that you go to.
Yep, totally. So,
yep.
Great book, Baron. Absolutely. That changed my life completely. I ended up taking Financial Peace University by the Ramsey Corporation as well, and Dane's really helped me with that, getting out of debt in the past too, and that's something we've always held tight to now.
That's 2 I haven't heard.
Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover?
I've never heard of the book, no.
Oh, well, when we went through the church's financial peace class, it's basically the exact same thing.
Right. I figured that was the case.
Yeah, they copied Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University.
Yeah.
So I guess I am up next. I think I'm going to have to mention the one that my wife and I actually are really, really big fans of, and it's The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And this one really, really helped our relationship and how to deal with our children better, because every kid has their own love language as well. And so having to figure out what their love language is and
what is the definition of a love language? Like, are we just talking how to talk to them, how to get through to them?
So there's the 5 love languages are quality time, words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So my biggest one is words of affirmation and physical touch, like hugs and just, hey, I'm here for you. And
Oh, is that one of those tests they did on like Facebook? Like one time they pushed that out. Maybe it wasn't
that
Facebook.
all of us did it, and it was based off of that book.
yeah,
Gotcha. I hated that one.
well, sorry. It is, the book itself is phenomenal.
The book might be. I just like everything it had to me. I was just like, okay.
Right. But my wife's is quality time and acts of service, and it's just remembering that I had to set aside some actual time to spend with my wife, to some quality time, not just, okay, I'm here on the couch with you. No, it's like, okay, I need to interact with her and make sure that she knows that I'm listening, and just be involved with her life for that few amount of time, and make sure that she feels loved. Yeah, that's one of those books. Even if you're not married, is a great book to have when you're going into a relationship or something like that. That hey, this is how I feel love, is because you say, hey, you're doing a great job. I love what you're doing, or here's a gift for you because I was thinking of you. I mean, whoever's love language is that, and that's why I love it.
Huh.
So I know there's another one. Go ahead.
Go, Case.
I was just going to say there's another book that's very similar to that Baron's read, and I've partially read. It's Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Girls Are From Venus, right, Baron?
It is.
Men Are From
That's
Mars,
what
Women
I
Are From
was-
Venus.
I was just going to say one of the books that kind of changed and helped me think about things differently was Mars and Venus in the Bedroom. So it just goes into how men think so differently than women, and what women need and what most men need. I mean, and it's stereotypes, obviously, but I mean, it's pretty good, and it goes on those same lines.
That's funny. I couldn't finish the book. It honestly made me angry reading the actual book itself. Baron said he
Really?
liked it.
Why did it make you angry?
I got started into it, and I literally, just the way he would be talking about women and talking about men, it was just one of those. It didn't sound right to me, and it didn't click with me. I don't think that way, and I don't see my wife thinking the way the woman is in this, and so in my personal life, it didn't have any effect to me.
So, Case, was that Mars and Venus in the Bedroom, or was that just
The
Men Are
original.
From-
The
Okay,
original,
yeah, I never read that one.
Oh, yeah, I read that one. I was like, it changed the way that I view my wife, because they talk about how women kind of go into this well of despair for a couple of days or a day, and then they come back out of it, and then they're like high. They kind of are waves. They go up and down, and that's why they're so freaking emotional. And then
so kind.
Told my wife, I was like, and then they also have this other analogy that men are like a rubber band. They'll like be close to you, and they love you, but then they need to get away, and then they kind of spring back, and then they love you again, but then they need to get away and have their space. If you don't let a man do that, he just resents you. And then if you get mad at him for going away, then he resents you. And I was like, I've explained this to my
When he
husband. I'm
leaves
like,
you.
Has your wife read this, or just you?
no, my wife hasn't read it. So
Maybe she should take a listen to this podcast or pick her up.
yeah.
Pick up the
So I've told her I wish she would listen to it, and I've tried to get her to listen to it, but because I suggested it, she basically said no. So
That's what I was about to say.
No.
It's probably because you told her that she should listen to it.
The
Yeah,
one
but
in the
then-
bedroom, I'd recommend reading together.
Really? Like, obviously,
Absolutely,
I've heard of it,
yes.
but maybe I might pick that one up and see if it's any better.
Read it together, like at night before you go to bed.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, if anyone's looking for actual books, I found an amazing website that throws. They're obviously not a sponsor, but I got to throw them in here. It's called Thrift Books. It's like a thrifty store for books. Like the 3 books I have sitting in front of me, they're all hardbacks. I got for less than $3 a book.
Nice.
Killer deals. So it's called Thrift Books. Look it up online. It is awesome. Their paperbacks are like $1.
Wow.
dang.
Yeah,
Plus
it's just
shipping.
no. If you spend over $15, you get free shipping or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, really good deal.
I hate paying for shipping.
Yeah.
Agreed. So that's the reason I buy X amount of books to get the free shipping.
It's like, well, do I spend $10 more to get free shipping that would have been $15? Absolutely.
Yep, I agree. So,
All right, Dane.
My next one is I've actually got 2. The first one is Never Split the Difference. Have you guys ever heard of that?
Yeah,
that's the one
Power
Power told
suggested
us.
it.
Yeah, Power told us to read that one. We just haven't got the chance.
I
to
got
read
like
it.
3 chapters into it, and then that's all I did.
I've never
So
heard
really, It's
Never heard
just
of it.
different negotiating tools. But it's pretty cool. It's a pretty good book.
Do they have an audio?
Yeah, I actually listened to it last year when I
Gotcha.
had my eyes done
Gotcha.
the first time. So yeah, but it was really good. The second one, Case gave me for I don't remember if it was my birthday or for Christmas, because they are right next to each other. Case, do you remember what it was? Do you remember giving me a book?
I do, but I can't remember which one it was now.
It was Fanatical Customers.
Oh,
So
dude, I totally forgot about that book.
Yep. So it's just it goes through and tells you how to and Case, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been a couple of years since I read it. But it just goes to and to tell you how it's better to have fanatical customers than a whole bunch of just okay customers. So
Right.
because
Until
your
you started
fanatical
talking about,
customers.
I
Sorry,
totally
go ahead.
forgot about this. No, I just totally forgot about the book until you literally just said it, and I forgot how good that book is because it's better to have, like you said, that fanatical customer that gets online and raves about you. Oh my gosh, I love Power Driven Diesel. They are an incredible company, because word of mouth is the number one thing that can get you guys more customers.
Yep.
So
Yep, absolutely.
They're
Well,
also the
thank you,
number
Dane.
one thing that can get rid of our customers.
Yep. For
Correct.
every.
Yep, which a certain person at PDD didn't understand.
I don't know which one, but okay.
yes, but yes,
Lonnon knows.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
but it's just
Griffith knows who he's talking about too. He just needs to think about it for a second.
No, I know who you're talking about.
so there's obviously some people out there that just are oblivious to that. But yeah, Dane, great book. I totally forgot about it. Thank you.
Yep, and I just want everybody to know it's not possible to teach your customers patience.
No,
Nope.
no.
Nope.
You
Griff, you got
can't
anything
teach him.
else?
You
Oh.
can teach him to go shop other places, though.
Sure can.
Absolutely.
And that's
Sure
the thing.
can.
That was another thing I think they mentioned in that book is it takes only a few seconds. It takes a lifetime or years to build that trust. It can take literally a second to lose it.
Yep.
The other thing with those kinds of things that blows me away is that a customer will be more loyal to you if they've had a bad experience and you've made it right.
And it was
Yep.
resolved correctly.
Yes, and that to me is like, please, if something was not done correctly or to your specifications, please let me know so I can, try to fix it.
Right. Yeah. No. To be honest, I have a couple of them that are that exactly customers that call me now because we screwed up on shipping stuff, and they're like, we're never doing business. This is one that Sheena would probably remember, because the guy called out and cussed me and Josh out in the same day for the same thing.
Oh, I remember that guy.
Yeah, and he now still calls us because we were able to resolve it and get it figured out, and now he's loyal to us. But whew, it was rough when that happened. But
And you didn't have to give away an $8,000 transmission?
it was $3,500, and the guy's never going to be back for the one that gave that one away. So I don't know why we would have never done that.
I know. I'm joking.
I don't give away product. Will I discount? Yes. Baron knows that, but I don't give stuff to people for free.
Well, at a certain
Well,
point, you clearly can't.
To an extent. I mean, it's like you told me to, yes, I can sponsor those air filters to that guy. He ended up paying for them, but yeah.
It's cool.
Well,
But
it's what are you guys going to get for it?
right,
Advertising.
yeah. And that's where I was taught. That's where AutoZone and O'Reilly's and Subaru, working for all three of those companies, they would send us to seminars, and it was AutoZone and O'Reilly's really taught me this, is that the reason why Walmart will return anything is because if you look at the dollars they spend through you for their entire life, is that will equal whatever they're trying to return to you. And it all
Wow.
Not just
one good
equal.
experience. Yeah.
They will spend way more, like 100 times.
Yeah, like the average customer with AutoZone will spend $250,000 in their lifetime.
Oh, holy cow! I didn't think that was that much.
Yeah, and so that's why AutoZone also is another company that will return literally anything. If it says O'Reilly's on the block and clearly says it, they'll return it just because it's better to keep. And this is where I learned is that if you piss a customer off, you'll lose 10 customers in that process. If you make a customer happy, you'll get 4. That's how bad it is. So going and ruining a relationship with a customer meant that you ruined a relationship with 10 customers, and hope that those 10 customers don't tell 10 other buddies that tell 10 other buddies that tell 10 other buddies. Like it
It's
fans
exponential.
out quickly, and versus the 4 people that they tell that they were happy with. Now that's going to go out, but it's a lot smaller of a rate. And so that's where I've learned my customer service side of things is that, I'm going to do whatever I can to get the customer happy, because at the end of the day, I know that it's going to come back fourfold rather than come back at me tenfold.
Well,
Yeah,
and you put actual numbers of that, and it's one goes to 10 to 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 to 100,000 to 1,000,000. I mean, it adds up quick.
Yeah.
I'm way more like on the reviews I do a lot of Google reviews, and I'm more apt to do a review if it's a bad experience than if it's a good experience.
Everybody is.
And now I've started trying to do both. An experience either way. It doesn't matter. If I'm going to do something, it's going to be done both ways.
But the issue is it has to be a really outstanding performance or thing for me to leave a review.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so we've only got a few more minutes. Does anybody else? I mean, I've got 2 other ones I want to talk about real quick.
Go ahead and just knock them out, Lonnon.
Yeah.
Well, 2 and then one that I'm listening to right now. But so the first one is called Leaders Eat Last: Why Some Teams pull together and others don't. And it starts off, Leaders Eat Last, and actually it talks about how in the Marines, if you're a leader, you don't eat first, you eat last. And that's where this whole thing started. And I confirmed this because Josh, one of the guys that works for us here at Power Driven, he's our shop manager. I asked him, I was like, so Josh, is this true? Because I knew he was a leader of a platoon of something. And I was like, were you the last one to eat, or were you one of the first ones to eat? He's like, when I was just a regular guy, I was one of the first ones. But after I started being a leader, or I was in charge of something, then anybody that was underneath me ate first. And it's that mentality makes it so that, they know that you've got their back. If there's not enough food left over,
people,
right? If
take care of people, they'll take care of you.
Exactly, and that's what this whole book is about. I mean, there's lots of military scenarios in it, but for the most part, it's extremely well written, and anybody can listen to it. It doesn't matter. I wasn't in the military at all. And an extremely good book. The book is written by Simon Sinek, or Sinek, something like that, Sinek. And then the other one...
What was the book called?
Leaders Eat Last: Why Some Teams Prosper... Hold on.
Simon Sinek. He did an amazing TED Talk also.
Yeah, he has another book. Oh, it wasn't that one. It was another one. It's one of my favorite books. I'm looking for the title. You've been describing this book, and it's just like another one I listened to.
Yeah, it's
by the
great.
Same guy.
So then the other one that I really like is called How to Lead When You're Not in Charge. And it basically talks about a guy. I mean, they give you lots of the easiest way to talk about it. It's kind of like the Richest Man in Babylon, where they're giving you principles, but they're not teaching you exactly how to do it, right? Yeah, and so it's the principles on how to lead, how to get things you want, even if you're not in charge. And it's a really good look. I think
I've actually listened to that book, Lonnon. Now you're describing it, it sounds very familiar.
It's this guy. Basically, the guy that wrote it is a guy that it's about some guy that had this really big church, and the guy that wrote it worked for this guy. And a good scenario is like he brought him into this whole youth thing. He's like, hey, we're having problems with this youth program, fix it. And so he goes in there, and then he does all these things, and it's not quite going as well as he thought, and he's always blaming, well, if I had this or if I had this, and finally after a while he realizes that it doesn't matter if I have this or this. It matters that I just need to work with what I've got, and then if those other things come about, I can make it better.
Yes.
Right? And so, but he refers to lots of Bible scriptures in it, and Jesus Christ, and so I mean, there's a religious kind of aspect to it as well, but it's extremely well written. And like I said, if I could get every one of my employees to listen to this book, I think it would only help out them as well as the company that that they work for. Whether that's us or in the future, it's something that will just make them a better person.
Yeah, that's something I found hard in the past too, is getting other people to listen to good books.
Yeah.
If it wasn't my brothers.
Right. The other one that I am listening to right now, I mean, I'm listening to a fiction one because I was in the middle of it and I started it. But this one that I started a while back, and I kind of binged on a bunch of self-help books for a while there, so it was just like I need a break.
How it goes. You get
Right.
into that mindset and you're just like, all right, I gotta get as much as I can.
Right, and then this one was like, it wasn't as captivating right off the bat, so I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to this other book, and the other one just had come out, and I was really looking forward to it. But anyway, so the book is called The 12-Week Year. Get more done in 12 weeks than other do in 12 months. And basically, the whole scenario is, obviously, the 12-week year, right? So instead of thinking about doing a yearly employee where you're sitting them down and kind of talking to them, right? Do that every 12 weeks, not every 3 months, every 12 weeks. Set your schedules up so everything's 12 weeks, because basically 12 weeks, 1 week is now a month, right? 1 day is now a week, and 1 hour is now a day. So he's like, basically, you need to sit down Mondays, figure out what you need to get, what you need, and write everything down. You need to have these goals, but not only do you have the goals, but you also need to make sure you write down how to accomplish these goals and what you're going to do to accomplish these goals. And because now a one day is a week in that year, right? You need to make sure that you don't go home until that week of information is done, right?
Dude, that's killer.
So I'm about half of the way through it. So far, very good, very well written. It's by Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington. It's a really good book. Really good so far. I have not finished it, mostly because I'm finishing this other book first, and then I'm going to finish that one.
What was that one called, Lonnon?
The 12-week year. And for you guys, obviously, any of these books you want to listen to, these are all the ones I have on my Audible account. You guys can listen to them at any time.
Awesome. That's awesome. Oh, Baron, I figured out what book you're thinking of. It's Start with
Why.
Oh
yes.
My gosh, that book is so good.
That one is so good. Yeah, when Lonnon's like Simon Sinek, I was like, I know, because I was sitting
It's
there
not
thinking
what you
about
do,
this.
it's why you do it.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, and it's why businesses do what they do. I mean, Lonnon will disagree. Well, not disagree, but none of us like Apple. But Apple started with why, and that's why people who love Apple are so absolutely stupid passionate about Apple.
Yep.
And because there's a why, there's a purpose. Whereas when you look at Microsoft, what's their why? When you look at Google, what's their why?
Money.
Yeah,
Apple
but when you
is,
look at
I want
Apple,
to be
what's their
an
why?
individual.
Well, yeah,
be-
actually, what is Apple's why now? Now,
They-
back when
Oh,
they started,
now
it's
it's
a totally
money.
different story. Maybe.
Now it's money.
Because
Money,
even
money,
money.
even Microsoft, when it started, there was probably a why.
Steve Jobs is the why.
Right.
Apple is not the why.
Right.
Yeah,
What
and
has
I
Apple
absolutely
done
agree.
since Steve Jobs died?
Nothing.
Exactly. Nothing.
It's become-
Redid their entire thing. I mean, just made their same phone over and over again.
And
But
now
they
think about
did
it.
come out with a fantastic idea. They came out with the iPhone, just this screen with one button. I mean,
True.
that
Yeah.
was brilliant. Nobody else had that at that point.
right.
Great.
But it's not just him. I mean, there's plenty of businesses that are that way. They're
The
like
iPod,
they're
the
fixing
iPad.
a problem that there wasn't. They're fixing a problem that nobody had a problem with. Right. So
Yeah.
there wasn't.
They're
there was
solving
no
a
pro-
problem
yeah,
that
they're
doesn't exist.
Right. They're solving a problem that doesn't exist, and that's so many different use case scenarios for that. I mean, shoot, even Dad. Right. there wasn't a problem with golf courses, but we fixed it.
Yes, we did.
So there's plenty of any real good inventor / entrepreneur that thinks that way is going to come up with something new that is solving a problem for an issue that is not there.
That's an actual problem.
Yeah.
The whole point is solving a problem for a problem that exists, not
That doesn't
not
exist.
creating the word halitosis because you want to sell mouthwash.
Right.
Which
So-
is actually true, everybody.
So
If you guys
those
didn't know that.
I didn't know that. So those are the 4 or 5 books that I really like. I'm going through my list here, and if I find another one, I'll let you guys know. But I don't think that anything else was the
Baron,
case.
did you have any?
Yeah, so one that was really inspiring at the time was Think and Grow Rich. I liked the ideas in that book. I did some more research on the author and found out he never actually did anything with his life.
No, Napoleon did not. There's
Yeah,
Napoleon
which is-
something I can't remember his name. He did not. He did not actually follow any of his own whatever.
But
you want to,
He had
advice.
some very good ideas. He had some excellent ideas. Actually, and then the book that got me turned on to that book was The Magic of Thinking Big. And it was, if you're a small thinker, you're only going to accomplish small things. If you're a big thinker, you can accomplish big things because you're thinking out of the box, or at least you're not limiting yourself to, well, this is all I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally believe with that.
So that, and then the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Mom really likes that book. I've listened to that book a couple of times. The guy's pretty entertaining, gives some pretty good analogies.
Stephen R. Covey.
Yep, he's pretty entertaining. And then The Millionaire Mind, I think that one's a really, really, really good read. Sorry, not The Millionaire Mind, The Millionaire Next Door. The Millionaire Mind's its sequel. And The Millionaire Mind, also a really good book. But The Millionaire Next Door, that one, it takes this survey of all of these millionaires all throughout the country and goes and basically figures out why they were millionaires. Why were you a millionaire? They ended up inviting, one of my favorite scenes of the book was the people who are writing the book rent this really posh, nice Fifth Avenue apartment thing. I mean, just $1 million an hour to rent type deal. Had all these different types of caviar and really, really nice, expensive foods. And they invite all these millionaires to come. And all of these millionaires feel super out of place. They're uncomfortable. They're like, we don't know what to do here. Like, one guy shows up in a cowboy hat and jeans, and he's all like,
Awesome.
and they have these really nice fine wines and stuff. And the guy's all like, he's all,
Where's my beer?
exactly. He says, you know what? I like 2 types of alcohol, free and Bud Light.
That's
And yeah, and all these people are like super uncomfortable, and then like they're trying to interview them, and they're like, these people were just out of place. And then they found out that these were people that like saved their whole life, owned businesses, drove a Buick. I mean, never were fancy people, but they had over $1 million.
Not
in
silver
investments.
spoon in their mouth.
Yes, they weren't the ritzy rich people. They were the people that had worked for a living.
And just, you know what, they're everyday millionaires, which is also another
Crampies.
great book.
Yep. One other small topic about that book is that one taught me about the outpatient care of rich people. So the issue with rich people is people who made it themselves generally end up funding their children throughout the rest of their lives. And so the children become dependent on the parents, and then the children become entitled little brats. And so that was also a really, really good section of that book, is how not to raise your children so that they become entitled.
Yep.
Make them work.
Yeah.
Right.
What a concept.
Teach them a work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
All
Sorry,
right.
did you have any more?
Hold them accountable.
I've got several books, but those are the most influential.
Awesome. Well, I just want to touch base on probably 2 or 3 real quick. My one that really affected my life, power turned me onto this one. It's called Now Discover Your Strengths. And this book goes into the details about where your particular mindset is, and it also has a test to go with the book itself. And the test is the Clifton Strengths Assessment.
Is it called Strengths Finder?
Yes.
Yeah, Best Buy makes all leadership read that and take the test.
Oh, incredible book. I like the fact that I could figure out exactly what my strength was, and my strength is belief. Like, I believe I'm here for a
That's
bigger
one of
purpose.
mine.
Yep, bigger purpose,
Yeah.
and so now I know why what I do for what my biggest strength in life is, because of that belief I have. But I like the fact that throughout the book, or in the book, it has all of the strengths in the strength assessment.
And what is it called?
Now Discover Your Strengths.
Gotcha.
And in
Case,
the
what
book,
was your number one?
it was belief. My number one was belief.
Okay, mine was context. I looked to the past to see how the future is going to turn out. The
Oh,
belief
very
was in my
cool.
top 5.
Yeah, belief is my number one, because I like I said, I just believe that I'm here for something bigger. So yeah, that one changed my entire aspect. Plus, it gives me a different outlook on people I work with, and that was a big thing for me.
That one I really liked because I don't think people can really get anywhere until you understand yourself. And that one really helped me understand myself better, to know my top 5 strengths. So anybody who's worked with me will absolutely be able to see these in me. But so context, I look at the past to see what's in the future, to see what's going to happen. Relator, I try to relate to everybody. Includer, I try to include everybody. Oh shoot, I just forgot the others.
Well, belief's one
Context.
of them, obviously.
Oh, belief. Okay. And then developer. I'd like to develop people. So, I mean, once I knew those things about me, I felt like I could go on and make an impact in other people's lives.
Yep, it was awesome. Very, very. That's when being self-aware is a very good thing to move forward in your life. Being know who you are and why you do things you do is an incredible thing to have in your life. So,
Definitely.
one more book, real quick, is The Dream Giver, which I think Baron I've made read, and Dane, I don't know if you've listened to that one. It's on my Scribed account.
I've listened to that one like 3 different times.
Oh,
So.
that one is so good. Basically,
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
It takes this point of view of
Blah.
no, it's not Blah. His name is Ordinary. The guy's name in the book is Ordinary, and it goes through how he ends up leaving this small town that are just full of small-minded people and follows his dream, because the dream giver gives everyone a dream, but you can choose whether to follow that dream or not, and basically follows him through his path of getting that dream. And it's a great story about how to develop yourself.
Hey, you forgot
Nice.
one really good one too.
Hey, man,
This one is The Go-Giver. I was waiting for you to say it this whole time. The Go-Giver is such a great book. And then there's The Go-Getter, and then there's 3 books in the series, and it is just so good.
All right. Well, Lonnon's got one last one, and then we'll probably close this on up.
All right, so my last one, I apologize, I found it. I knew it was on there. It's called Own the Day, Own Your Life, and it's by Aubrey Marcus. And he kind of goes through how to make your, not how to make your life better, but how to make one day better, which will then end up making your life better, right? By eating the right foods, by being the right positive. If you need a freaking nap, take a nap. Like all these different things, and he talks about all of it. Now, this is the same. I probably talked to you guys about it before. I love the book. I want to preface with it. The guy just likes to drop profanity in there in different places. All I can figure is for the fun of it, because he drops the F-bomb, he drops just about every word you can think of at random times, and it's just like, dude, they did not need this. Like, I would recommend this book to way more people if it didn't have it. But that being said, it's got a lot of good information in it. How you should be working out. I mean, what you should be doing first thing in the morning. It's just really a good book. It's one of the ones that I listened to, and I may have told you guys about the, people drink coffee first thing in the morning, and really, he's like, that's not good, but it's been proven. He's like, if you take water and you put in some sea salt or even Himalayan peak salt, because it's got the iron in it, and you put that in water and you just down it, it's not great, doesn't taste good, but your body, because there's nothing else in your system or in your stomach, your body just soaks up all those minerals that are in that salt and in that water. And your salt is needed for your body as well. It is a catalyst for the electricity that's in your body, and so it is needed as well. And so a lot of people aren't getting enough salt anyway. But anyway, so it's a really good book. Yeah,
that's
and you
also
get electrified.
That's great for fasting. If you do intermittent fasting, the Himalayan salt and water, great.
Right when you wake up?
Yes.
So, okay, real question on that. Do you guys drink water while you're in intermittent fasting? I do.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Different subject. Sorry.
All good. All right, Griffy, close this out. Actually, let me plug this real quick. Sorry. You guys can find us on Instagram at King Ugly Crew, and also on Facebook at King Ugly Crew. Hey, should we start a book club? Do you guys want us to start talking about books more often? Shoot us an email. Shoot us a message. Email is at kinguglycrew@gmail.com. Let us know, guys. Let us know.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone listening. And everyone, let's stay
ugly.
That was terrible.
That was terrible.
That was horrible.
Stay ugly.
Thanks,
Stay
guys.
ugly.
There we go.
Ugly stay.
Yeah.
Ugliness, yeah.
Keep it ugly.
Ooh, I like it.